Today on Press B to Cancel, what the actual fuck is Terraria? Terraria? Terraria.
Terraria. Cha-cha-cha.
Nailed it.
Press B to cancel.
Wait, we're starting now?
I guess. I mean, I
shit.
figured I'd get the beginning. Do you need a moment?
No, that's all right.
Have a Twix?
That's what mute is for.
Yeah, you're not you're not you if you don't have the Snickers.
Terraria. There's a good chance you've at least heard of it.
Oh,
Even
that's
if
the
you
game
haven't
with the
played-
blocks.
Yeah, it's not Minecraft. Granted, even my son now describes it as Minecraft but 2D.
Roblox?
And on the fly, that is probably as accurate a description as you're going to get in one sentence. However, it is a dramatically different game from Minecraft. I know Pulse has played quite a bit very recently.
Look, okay, I'm not addicted. I can quit anytime I want.
You just don't want to for like a month and a half from now.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Jake has played some. I'm not entirely sure how much.
Probably about 60 hours. But majority of that was when it first came out. So we're talking like, how long ago?
So you probably saw the majority of the content that was in the game when you got it.
Nope. And we can talk about that later. But nope.
Well then.
Never fought a boss ever.
Oh my gosh.
Well, the first time we fought a boss, we might as well have not fought him because he owned us, but still.
I have played a good few hundred hours over the years because the game is now about 9 years old.
Is it really? Wow.
Yes, it came out in 2011.
In May, actually. It officially predated Minecraft, actually. Because
Wow.
Minecraft came out in November.
No.
Yeah, Minecraft was around longer, but it wasn't actually officially released.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I played it in alpha. All right. Gotcha.
And GP is our resident blind man on this subject.
I'm still stuck on Ninja Gaiden.
That's a different game entirely. But the bosses are just as hard.
It's just like Contra, honestly.
You do get guns
You get guns?
Yeah.
Yes.
and yo-yos.
Yeah, there's so many just random weapons in this game. It's great. However, when you go into a deeper description of this game, it no longer really sounds anything like Minecraft. It's honestly more of, I don't know, it sometimes, depending on the type of weapon you're using, it could feel like a Castlevania game, it could feel like a Mega Man game, it could just feel like an action platformer. There's different play styles. And for a 2D game that is almost entirely randomly generated world, that's rather impressive.
I played this when it first came out. Well, at least the year it came out on 360. And I played it for all of, I don't know, 25 minutes. And I was like, nope, good enough, nope. And I was already playing Minecraft by then. So maybe it was within a year or something. I was like, no, this is like crappy Minecraft. And now that I've been playing it, I've been enjoying this one as much, if not more, of mine than I did for Minecraft. Because this one, it like you said, it separates when you get away from the block placing and the crafting. It really does place completely differently than Minecraft. It's a lot less open ended. There's a little bit more what's the best way to
Progression.
say it? There's a little more, yeah.
There's a lot of progression.
Yeah, and there's actual steps you do. Like there's bosses, there are steps you need to take. So, if you want to play it and just build stuff, you can. But at the same time, there is a way to finish it. And Minecraft didn't do that until much, much later on.
So does this game have a story or a plot?
Not really. a little bit there's little bits of dialogue from the NPCs that sort of flesh out the world to a degree, but not enough to where I would call it a plot or a story.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. It's very minimal like that, so it's very open to interpretation, I guess is the best way to put it.
This is a game that, despite being kind of an action RPG, despite being massive, it's got very little in the way of narrative.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, like when I played it, I guess when it first came out, I also bounced off it pretty quickly. 'Cause, let's face it, the sprite work sucks. It's not a very pretty game. And with mod packs, with Minecraft, it looked a lot better. So I used to play a lot of Minecraft as well. But when I finally came around to try it again, I got deep into base building, much like Minecraft. But I used to like Terraria more because I felt you could customize more because there's all the different block types and colors and whatnot. And it seemed, at the time anyway, there was more of that than Minecraft had. Although things have changed definitely over the last 10 years, or almost 10 years. But I love procedural generation in games. Rogue Legacy is another one that does procedural stuff. Of course, Minecraft. And then lately it's like Dead Cells. So I love that kind of mechanic in games when it's procedurally generated. I just wish there was more generation or opportunities to kind of move around and expand. Because the same studio also made Starbound, right? And that's a game that's much the same. They didn't?
No.
They just stole the idea?
Starbound, as similar as it is, when you put probably 20 hours into either one of them, they feel almost entirely different.
Like Starbound I liked because you have the multiple planets you can go to. And like in Terraria, you can load up different worlds with the same character, I guess, because I did a little bit of that.
Yes.
But I didn't realize I thought it was the same studio. They look freaking the same.
No, Starbound is Chucklefish, because I remember that because every time you log in, there's literally a chuckle, and I always used to think it was one of the guys on Discord.
And Terraria is Relogic.
Did they sue?
No.
They should have sued.
It's not that similar. It's really not.
They look similar, especially up front. Starbound has a lot more of a narrative side to it.
Yes.
And instead of having different biomes on one planet, each planet is basically a different biome, which is it's a very space themed version of Terraria. So I mean, you can see why people would confuse them a lot and think they were the same, but there are a lot different.
Terraria has quite a bit of story, or not Terraria. Starbound has quite a bit of story. And like Paul was saying, planets are usually limited to about 1 to 3 biomes. And then that's kind of it. Planets are very, very throwaway in Starbound. Whereas in Terraria, generally you get invested into your world. You explore it. And then as you progress, new stuff spawns throughout your world. So you don't just explore it once. You probably end up exploring it if you just stick with one world, go all the way through it, like beginning to end, beating it, you're probably going to explore the same area, some of the same areas of your world a good 5 or 6 times that they'll change, have something different in them.
Okay, when you say different, what do you mean? Because that was my worry with the game, is that a lot like Minecraft, you harvest resources from the ground, you dig tunnels and pits and whatnot. And whereas Minecraft, you can explore and keep going for, I think, infinitely in any direction. Terraria was a fixed size world, so I thought once you've got all the resources, that was it. It was done.
Well, the worlds, even a small world is pretty good size if you're playing one player. So if you've got a multiplayer world that's large, it's pretty darn big.
Yeah.
The likelihood that you're going to explore the whole thing is very slim, even from start to end. When you start, it basically just has 5 tiers of ore? 4 tiers of ore?
4 or 5.
Copper or its variant, silver or its variant, gold or its variant, hellstone, and iron. Iron was the one I missed. And then once you go through quite a bit of content and beat bosses, you start on, there's also Demonite that you find, or Crimtane, or whatever your version has. And then once you beat the Wall of Flesh, which is probably your 4th boss.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You beat the wall of flesh?
Yes, so you
Well, I've already beaten that
work
boss
your way
many
up.
times.
You start with probably wood armor, move up to copper armor, move up to iron armor, move up to silver armor, gold armor, and then I think demonite armor. And then eventually you want to get hellstone armor so you can fight the boss that's in hell in the underworld. So you've fought, by the time you go to the underworld, you've probably fought the corruption boss, or the crimson boss, whatever one you've got on your world. You've got the Eye of Cthulhu, you've got Skeletron, and then
Wait, hold on. Skeletron is a robot?
no,
No, not even really. It's just a floating head with these skeleton arms.
Yeah,
A floating
it's-
skull with skeleton arms.
the
Electron.
guardian of the dungeon that happens on your... I don't know why Skeletron. The second version of Skeletron that you fight, I believe, is a robot.
Yeah. Skeletron Prime.
Yeah, so once you go into hard mode after you defeat the Wall of Flesh in Hell, you go into hard mode, you've got robot versions of bosses.
And it's actually really cool the way they do it, because if you play through the game and you beat the Wall of Flesh, which is like basically the end of normal mode, it immediately unlocks hard mode, which is the same game, the same map, but some biomes change, enemies change, spawns change, and then there's new ores and stuff for you to discover, plus new progression paths. So it's like starting over, but you already have everything you have. And so it's kind of like New Game Plus, but on extra hard difficulty.
But did you lose the stuff you built? Like, is there holes filled in, or?
No, it's just basically like, say if you have it's called Corruption or Crimson in one. You have one or the other usually. And one will become the Hallow, which is basically full of unicorns and rainbows and stuff, as opposed to like this this dystopic purple thing with these weird demons flying around. So it's literally the opposite. And it basically changes up the biomes, and you get different options for ores and stuff. So you have to basically start over the same way as you did before. You basically work your way up through the tiers of the different ore you get for new gear, because the different ores make different tiers of gear. You know, of course, the better stuff is a little bit harder to find. So it kind of does the same thing. It keeps that familiar world that you're so used to already, because by now you've probably spent 60 hours or something in the game. I mean, you can do it much faster than that, but still, like on average, that's what it's like. Then you get to do it all over again, but you already have a feel for the world. You already know where to go, and then you get to experiment and look around, see what's changed and how it's changed and how you interact with it, which is kind of nice, because it's like a New Game Plus, like I said, but at the same time, you're still in the middle of all of it. So,
Is it like Super Mario World when you beat Special Road?
kind of, but at the same time, the difficulty ramps right up. It's not that literal, but it makes the difficulty spike like noticeable. It's very, very much tougher, and you're rewarded for it because you've earned it if you've beaten the boss and unlock hard mode. All of a sudden, it's like, well, what is there to do? A lot. You can continue building, like you said, or you can keep on going through the bosses and stuff. I still haven't played it. I've got 130 hours in there. I still haven't played it all the way through and beaten the last boss.
And I believe they've even added bosses for post the final boss now.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm trying not to read too much into it.
And we're not going to go that deep so that there's surprises for people who decide to jump into it after this. But
Yeah, I got to say, I didn't think that spoilers would be a thing for this game. I didn't realize there was that much stuff in it. I always thought like maybe 2, maybe 3 bosses. I didn't realize there was that level of
there's
stuff to find.
probably more like 25 bosses.
What? Is this the game with the UFO with the penguins as a boss?
No, that's Starbound.
That's Starbound.
That's Starbound.
You're mixing them up again. Starbound only had probably about 8 bosses or something.
Yeah, something like that.
8 actual bosses, and then like encounters that were difficult but didn't really have a boss per se.
Like when I most recently played with you guys, which was fun for the 3 hours I was able to do it. But you guys had set the server to, I think, hard mode, because I got murdered by slimes 20 times in 5
Yes.
minutes, which is embarrassing. And when I went and played off on my own for 10 minutes, I was like slaughtering them left and right. Like, I was making jam like no
Yeah.
tomorrow. I didn't need a wall of flesh to beat against. I had my own jam making machine in my hand.
See, the thing is, you can do different difficulties when you make the world. So you can have like the classic difficulty. You can have a journey one, which is kind of on par. Like, I can't say on par, but the equivalent to, creative mode in Minecraft, except very much not as the closest analog you're going to get.
Creative, but you have to earn your ability to infinitely spawn items.
So you can do that. You can start off classic and classic, expert, and master, I believe, are the difficulties. And hard mode happens in all of them regardless. But hard mode is, again, you take out that boss and then hard mode's unlocked. So we were playing on, expert, I believe? Or epic, I think is the name of it. Something like that.
Expert.
Expert. Okay, yeah. So we get headed on that. And it was the second highest difficulty, and then we unlocked hard mode, which is, again, part of whatever world you make, whatever difficulty you make.
It's misleading at this point in what the game has in its development process, because when hard mode was first introduced, there were no alternate difficulty levels for the game. It was you play through standard, and then you beat the wall of flesh, you've got hard mode. There's some new bosses, new difficulty. There's stronger enemies spawn now in all the biomes that you've been in before. Higher tier ores spawn now, things like that. Since then, there's been new milestones added after hard mode that have similar effects on the world as achieving hard mode. So they've stopped labeling them, and instead it's like, pre-hard mode, hard mode, and then I think post-final boss or something like that.
GP, is this making any sense to you?
No, of course. Okay, let me simplify it real quick. Going from my bullet points for you. The only way to achieve hard is to beat Wall of Flesh.
Yes.
And that'll do it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Fact.
I don't know how it could have been any more clear.
And that's the only take he's gotten out of this game, and now he wants to play it because he's like, well, I'm already a pro at this, so.
Look, understanding something and being good at it, two different things. Wall of Flesh beating. Well, okay, let's skip over that. Let me tell you guys about this game called Echo the Dolphin. I'm kidding. Honestly, I feel bad because I'm not saying much yet. I'm just taking notes and listening to you guys go. And really, if you wanted to pique my interest, all you had to say was 2D Minecraft. Yeah, everything else after that's just kind of gravy. So I'll let you get back to it. I'm still listening. I'm here, and I'll pipe up every now and then, but I'm sorry, I'm not saying much.
No, that's fine. We're here to educate you.
Oh, you won't be the first to try.
Regarding Jake's statement about the pixel art not being great, when the game first came out, I will admit that kind of was the case. Some of the pixel art was, let's say, lacking. It wasn't quite as pretty as it could have been. And as the game got updated, they added new creatures, new sprites, new characters, and all that. And those things got progressively better looking because, it's a game that's had updates dropped on it for 9 years, right? Well, with this final update, they actually went back and touched up a lot of the original sprite work that was not that good and made it much better. So graphically, it did get updated.
But it's still ugly. I like the game, and I can appreciate good pixel art. I love good pixel art. But this game, right from when it launched to even when I played recently, the animation, I think, is slidey. The graphical style just doesn't do it for me. It's a good game, don't get me wrong. But I'll never say it's a good-looking, pretty game. Never.
Oh, your character's feet only have, 2-3 sprite animations? That's it. But you have to remember, every single piece of... everything your character wears is an individual sprite.
Yeah.
So your character is not one sprite. Your character is... At the beginning of the game, when you first create your character, it's 3 sprites. You got your feet, or your legs, your body, your head. And then any weapons or tools you use have their own additional sprite, as well as it's attached to an arm sprite that's generated based on what your body has on. It actually layers more sprites on top of it based on accessories and stuff like that that you get throughout the game. And there's probably, I want to say, I know of at least 40 different armor sets alone. And that's just the armor sets. That's not including however many vanity items there are and all that. Each one of those armor sets has the sprite set for the legs, the sprite set for the arms, the sprite set for the body, the sprite set for the head. So there's even though they're not the best animated, there is still a ton of animation in this game.
Well, definitely the variety is insane. And like you said before, 25 bosses, all kinds of biomes. Like, there's definitely a lot of it. Like, a lot. And that's great to see. But the look doesn't do it for me at all.
Well, for me, it's kind of like Minecraft. Like, the charm is in how ugly it is and how basic it is.
Actually, that's fair.
If I'm not mistaken, the original sprite work was actually based on Bart's from Final Fantasy V.
I could see that.
And it was altered from there. So the sprites sort of began life as edits of Final Fantasy characters, I think.
You make a good point about Minecraft, though, Pulse. I thought that game was also ugly as hell, and I played from the beginning. As soon as I realized you could do custom textures and stuff later on when I got back onto it, and there's a Deku texture pack, which makes the game look kind of like a blocky Wind Waker. And I only play with that texture pack. I can't play the game with the way it looked before. Also, because I like pixel artwork, but what Minecraft is doing, I also don't like. Wow, I'm an elitist.
You can get altered texture packs for Terraria now. They added that functionality in with this last update.
I wonder how they look then, because that would be hard to do. There is, like we said, a bazillion items in that game. That's a lot of artwork to replace.
Oh yeah, there's something like 4,000 items or something, if not more. Just items, not even blocks that you place, just items.
Let's see, like when I was playing, you start with nothing, and then you get, was it leather armor you start with? Or wood or something. I can't remember what it was. And then I was trying to find the next upgrade above that, and it wasn't tin. It was something else, I think, wasn't it? I just remember.
No, it's tin or copper.
Tin or copper. It just felt like there wasn't that many options for armor early on. So is it all like end game items?
The further you get in the game, the more it branches out. It's once you hit hard mode, you go from just sort of having whatever armor you get your hands on to actually choosing a branched out spec. So you end up becoming melee focused, ranged focused, magic focused, or a summoner.
Are there even stats in this game?
So the game actually branches out into classes.
What?
There are basic stats, but it's not so much like strength, this and that. It's more like melee damage versus magic damage versus summon damage, or versus ranged. It's very simplified, so you don't have to worry about that because your health is just like your health bar is literally just hearts. Your magic is just stars. So it's very, very simplistic in how it's done.
Wait, hold on. Stars. Yeah, I remember the stars and the hearts. What are the stars for?
Stars is your
They also
magic
have
bar.
purple horseshoes, pots of gold, and rainbows. And I believe a red balloon.
Yes, and yes.
I'm sorry. I had to troll.
I don't.
I had to make the Lucky Charms reference. We're talking hearts and stars.
You were right about the star. I don't know about the horseshoe. Maybe.
Oh yeah, Lucky Horseshoe keeps you from fall
Oh
damage.
shit.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Ooh.
So I
Yeah,
guess the
dude.
follow-up, did General Mills sue?
I don't think there's a clover.
It sounds like somebody got their hands on those Lucky Charms.
I think they would have they kind of took a public thing.
Right,
know?
yeah. You can't call dibs on that.
Yeah, it's not like trying to use the Universal monsters, Universal Studios monsters to put into your game and be like, oh, this is Frankenstein's monster and this is the mummy and a werewolf. Oh wait, that's in there too.
Look,
yeah.
Boo Berry is the greatest cereal.
Yeah, I don't think
Okay,
anybody
that's
would dare put Duffy the Disney Bear in this game.
So let's just talk a little bit about the popularity of this game. The first month that Terraria released, it sold almost 500,000 copies.
Wow.
That's how quick it took off. By June of 2015, so what, a little more than 4 years? Over 12 million copies. I think by this past April, it was over 30 million sales on PC. Or no, 30 million total. With 14 million on PC, 7.6 million on consoles, and 8.7 million on mobile platforms. I can't imagine playing this game on a phone.
Still, I mean, respect for those kind of numbers. Damn.
Yeah.
Going back to Pulse's negative interaction with the game on Xbox 360, that's because this game was not designed for a controller. Playable-ish with a controller, but it's not very good. You really do need a mouse and keyboard for this game.
Yeah, I would definitely not suggest anyone play this on a console for that reason alone. Another thing that threw me away from this entirely for so long is that when you start the game, there's no tutorials. They don't hold your hand on anything like you're used to in most modern games. So I didn't know what I had to do. I didn't know how open-ended it was. And then I didn't know how to build anything. It's very steep a learning curve to start. But once you understand a few basics, you can start kind of using that logic for the rest of the game. And it's really intuitive once you understand that. But at the same time, to get to that level of intuition in the game, it's not easy. So there was many a wiki searches. Yeah, it takes some patience to get used to. Minecraft, I think, nailed it a little bit better when it came to building things because they explained it a little bit better. But this one, you're kind of left to your own devices, and I think that's part of the charm in this game is because it's like, I didn't realize I could do that. And then 20 hours later, you're doing something else. I didn't realize I could do that. So there's a lot of self-discovery in this game besides beating your wall of flesh. So it's kind of nice.
Let me tell you about self-discovery in Terraria. Because like that was my experience, hopping back in with you guys. I wasn't sure about anything or how to even control. And when I stopped dying from slimes left and right, and I realized that it was nighttime and zombies come out, and I waited, and I started digging down. I was getting used to the game, and I thought I was doing really well. I think I went several hundred feet into the ground, and I started mining new materials, and I was on a roll. All of a sudden, I hear a wolf saying, "Oh, crap." And then water starts flooding the cavern I'm in. Before I can react, asshole drowns me in my tunnel. I still don't understand how that actually happened.
I was digging above you, but not directly through the tunnels you were in. Instead, I dug down, not realizing I was over a tunnel you had dug, released a pool of water below me into your tunnel, and it just flooded down to drown you.
Yeah, it just flooded like ants in a rainstorm, man. Just nothing was spared. Like, where was Noah and his ark?
So, and that's one thing, when you play on classic mode, it's a whole lot less anger-inducing because you lose money, which is not as crazy important, but you keep your belongings.
And there's piggy banks, right? You put your money in piggy banks, as I actually stole wolves.
That's where that went. But this is a game, like, I've played it myself since I got into it, and it's not the same for me. It has to be a kind of a group thing. I can't say that I'd enjoy it or I'd suggest playing it solo, but I mean, it's one of those games that they sell 4-packs of on on Steam for this reason. When you have another person in the game, it's so much better. And when you have a group of people, then it's just hilarious because, you know, first off, you start flooding people and drowning them without trying, and then you can go on adventures and taking on bosses, which will scale in difficulty and stuff too. So it's kind of nice. It gives you a lot of bang for the buck, I have to admit.
It definitely sounds like a lot in that game, like a lot of content.
The game is what, $10 if you don't get it on sale, and it goes on sale all the time.
Yeah, currently on Steam is $11 Canadian.
I think I've bought a few copies for friends at like $2.50 a piece.
So this was the final update. I mean, that's I think of a hot fix or something for bugs, but they're not doing any more content. Would you want to see a sequel to this game?
They were actually working on one.
From what I understand, there were 2 Terraria games in development after this one. There was supposed to be one called Terraria Otherworld, and then one that was just Terraria 2, I guess. I don't know what happened with Terraria 2. Otherworld ended up getting canned for some reason or another. They haven't gone into great detail. They just said that what they wanted to do with it wasn't really working out. I think it was supposed to be a little bit more of a sort of an adventure mode sort of game where there was a little bit more direction, a little bit more narrative, things like that. But that got canned. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel, but I would like to see a sequel because, I mean, this game's framework is 9 years old. It's built on XNA, which I'm pretty sure is no longer in development.
Oof, well, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty ancient, actually, as far... Well, that would make sense why it was on Xbox 360 back in the day. That's all about XNA. Xbox Arcade.
Yeah, well, it was originally built for PC, and then it got ported to consoles much later. But yeah, it was built in XNA because at the time Microsoft made C# and XNA pretty accessible to developers.
Yeah, the coding for that, I'm trying to remember what the name of it was called. Silver something? That's
Silverlight?
Silverlight. It might have been that. Yeah, it might have been it. Where it was like a very scripting-based language, very easy to get into with a text file. I actually dabbled in it. The guy that did that work for Microsoft, his name, I think it was Adam Saltzman. He went off and did his own open source project called Flixel, and it's basically the same language. So I started with the Microsoft version of that stuff, that code. I can't remember. It might have been Silverlight. It might have been something else. And when I realized that was how fun it was to customize the small code sample they gave you with that, realizing the guy made his own more expanded version of it called Flixel, I spent a lot of time making games with Flixel. I love that kind of stuff. But it's definitely dated by today's standards for engines.
I would love to see an updated version, probably developed on it instead of hooking in another framework, just from the ground up with its language, you know?
Yeah, it's just a problem when you do sequels. For a game like Terraria, because there's so much content, and that's content that's rolled out over almost a decade. When you have a sequel, odds are you're going to have the bare minimum again. It's not likely they're going to include everything from the previous game.
You're not wrong. It's like Sim syndrome.
Right.
I think for me, I don't want to see so much as a sequel to this or a spiritual successor. I just want to see what they come up with that would be different, but it would still feel like a game that they made. That's kind of what I look forward to seeing. Because we have Starbound, that's made by an entirely different company. Like, to the point where it's like, if you like this one, you will like that one. They're so similar. At the same time, they are different experiences, but if you're well-versed in one, you'll feel super comfortable in the other one. I preferred Starbound at first. Now they're pretty much even. But they're also two different experiences. So I kind of want to see what this dev has to do down the road.
See, I couldn't disagree more. I would love a sequel.
You want to play the first one?
Oh yeah, I'll get around to it.
We can get you in on this.
For $250 Canadian, I'm in.
Yeah. Sold.
I think I'd like to see maybe not the same style of gameplay and maybe not call it Terraria 2, but the same vein of gameplay where instead of being side on, it plays more like Link to the Past, where it's overhead instead. Maybe give it some depth, because I've seen games do that with depth, but instead make it more about horizontal exploration, you know?
Well, it kind of be like Dragon Quest Builders, right? Because that's like the overhead view. You can kind of Link to the Past it if you wanted to. But that's all about a lot of digging, a lot of manipulating the terrain and whatnot. Actually, the games remind me a lot of similarities between the two.
I think it's one of those games that you'll either get hooked on it or you won't. I mean, I started it the first time, couldn't touch it, didn't care. Some games are amazing only because of the multiplayer and playing with friends, but this one is good. It's just not for me. It doesn't hit the same buttons, but now it's grown on me to a point where I'm like, okay, I would suggest this for somebody I could see enjoying it. So
Like I kind of fell off it because I didn't realize how deep it got later on. I didn't even realize that there's magic in the game. Like, are you saying like magic spells, like abilities, or just elemental damage on weapons? I knew the weapon thing, but what do you use the mana for?
The mana is basically your ammo. So the magic is less like casting, a spell like you would in, say, Final Fantasy, and it's more just a different type of damage, a whole different damage table, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay, so you're not like flinging fireballs around or anything.
You are, but it's basically based on the equipment you're wearing. So you pick up a staff, and the staff will, instead of, bonking someone over the head with a staff, like you would with a sword, you'll shoot a fireball or shoot a... The first few of them actually is little tiny wisps. It almost looks barely like a spark. You can barely see the actual projectile you shoot, and then later on it gets much more impressive.
You start shooting discs or massive balls of flame or stars from the sky. Like the magic becomes pretty varied.
Huh, I didn't realize that at all.
In the same class, you might have a very different play style than somebody else. So let's take me and Paul. We both went melee. What's your weapon of choice?
Sword. Definitely a sword.
Yeah, I'm usually using a yo-yo, which sounds ridiculous.
That's a melee weapon, is it?
And
yeah.
yes,
I played Starbound.
and
or not Starbound, Star Tropics.
You think, okay, it's a yo-yo, it's not going to do much, but the yo-yos get scary, and it's not just one weapon, so it's got a lot of range to it usually. The yo-yos generally have a ton of range.
As melee weapons do.
Yeah.
Once you've got the accessories, your yo-yo becomes ridiculous. You're throwing out, you hit with one yo-yo and it throws out a second yo-yo, and those are both whacking enemies. And then you've got counterweights, probably 2 or 3 of them flying out of your character, also hitting things. So they're like swarming the enemy you're targeting, as well as just smacking anything nearby.
Yeah, he's speechless.
Pretty much no matter what class you choose to go with, once you've picked a weapon type to go with in that class, you're going to be playing differently than other people in that same class.
Yeah, I saw swords. I want to say some anime Cloud swords, like Cloud swords like Cloud would like, but I remember anything wacky like yo-yos. I was pretty blown away by the grappling hook that you gave me. I didn't realize what it was. When you're like, oh yeah, I have a spare grappling hook. Here you go, Jake. I'm like, what? Okay, sure, whatever. And then when I started my own game and I accidentally hit the button for it, and I went flying up into a tree with the damn thing, I was blown away. Like, I know there's a variety in some of the items, but that's nuts.
The amount of things you can do in this game, it is kind of scary to think of. It can be very overwhelming. But like I said, where there's that self-discovery in the game where I didn't realize I could do that kind of feel. It's like, ooh, piece of candy, except for you realize, oh man, I wonder if I can do this or I can do that. So it's just constantly trying new little things so you can enjoy it in a different way, multiple ways. And so once you play it through the first time, you're kind of like, I want to do that again now, but I want to try doing this, and it's justified,
Well, was this the game, or was it like everything else, Starbound? Which is one where every so often there's like a red moon or something, and zombies actually can break down the door to your hideout.
That's this one.
Did they ever expand on that system? Because that was cool as hell.
There are numerous events these days. There's the blood moon, which happens once in a while.
Okay.
There are certain things that only happen on a full moon. There are certain things when you beat a boss, you get a lantern night, where you see a bunch of little paper lanterns with candles in them flying along the background. There's weather now, so there's storms. Certain monsters will only spawn in a specific biome during a storm, so you've got sandstorms, snowstorms, rainstorms.
I seem to recall jelly with umbrellas.
Yes. There's slime rains, so if you
Yes.
go outside, it's raining slime, the blobs that were killing you. And if you kill, I think it's 150 of them, you summon a boss. And it's the Slime King, who is still my favorite boss because he dropped a mount that I use to this day. You also get mounts.
Wait, yeah.
Yes,
There are mounts?
there are mounts, there are
Yeah.
pets, there are light companions, there's minecart and rail system.
No, is it
There's-
really like straight out of Minecraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can build. There's the wiring system, probably that nearly rivals what you can do in Minecraft if you take the time.
Yeah, with the redstone.
Like lights, electric lights, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can power
Wow,
things.
I didn't realize that at all.
Wiring systems you can lay, and I believe it lets you use 4 different colors of wiring so that they can overlap with each other.
How far in the game do you need to be to get onto that stuff?
As long as you can make the stuff, really.
The wiring stuff is actually pre-hard mode, at least the start of it. You unlock more and more and more, even if it's just, you beat a boss. Certain tiers of bosses will open up new items for sale from different characters. And it's not just that. Like, characters will have different things for sale just by the day randomly or by the current state of the world, given weather, time of day, where the moon is at, waxing, waning, full, gone. It's pretty wild.
There are many different things that can go on, so like you'll never experience it all in one playthrough. So that's extra part of the replay value, is just there's so much like that.
There's also invasions.
From who? What?
Goblins, pirates, I
Okay.
believe aliens
Where
are
did the pirates
one.
come from? Because there's no oceans on that in that game.
There are.
There are.
What?
Either end of the map is considered ocean.
No.
Yes.
I swear when I played it, there was no oceans. Like there's lakes occasionally, but it was mostly just flat terrain as far as I could see.
That's just because you died before you made it there, okay?
So look, before you guys, okay, I did play this game, all right, but no, I didn't see any bosses because mostly, like that wall of flesh, I beat things by myself. And I used to build the forts and the towers and stuff, but all the surface level materials. Anytime I used to go deep down, I'd die, and then you lose damn well everything. So I never really did the progression part. I never even got to the dungeon when I originally played this game. I don't even know if they were in it back then. They must have been.
Yeah, dungeon was there from the outset.
So I put like 40, 50 hours into the game without seeing, sounds like anything in terms of what's in that game content-wise.
Yeah, it's one of those games where there's something for everybody. It's like they try to throw in whatever they can, and it is not like lip service. It's actually, it feels genuine. Like, we want to make this part, we want to make this work, we want to do this, and you can, and it's just fun.
Is there anything bad about the game?
I find the music is not as memorable for me personally. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just
Oh, is it jazz?
No, definitely not. Then I would be straight up complaining. No, I find the music is not as good. I like Starbound's music better, if we're going to compare these two, because we will.
I will say that Starbound's music is better. There are a couple of tracks in Terraria that are catchy and memorable, but for the most part, the background music probably changes so often that you don't get a chance to hear the full version of a song.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to say there's 40 or 50 tracks. There are time of day, biome, weather. Like, there's so many things that trigger what track you get. And to that effect, I actually, today, playing with Paulsh, I informed him of the music box function, which is an item you can buy. You equip it as an accessory in an area with music you want, and it'll turn it into a music box that plays that song. And when I used it today, it gave me a song called Morning Rain. So apparently that song that I grabbed that I was kind of into only plays in the morning when it's raining. So morning, surface, and rain.
Man, that sounds pretty good with that such a wide variety of music. But when I played it, you're right, it wasn't memorable at all. That's a lot of tracks, though.
It's pretty overwhelming to think about it in one shot. But I gotta say, if it's worth trying, especially for the price. So if you at least sound interested, I suggest checking it out, and I also suggest playing it with friends because
Yeah, at least play it with one other person.
yeah, somebody who's played it before, preferably, because learning the ropes along the way can be really aggravating. But having somebody to guide you and kind of be your maestro might really increase the experience you get.
Yes. Don't let them just throw everything at you if you've never played before and you're going to play with people who have. let them guide you through the experience, not hand you everything.
Exactly.
Same goes to you guys guiding people. Don't just give them everything.
This is the most sexually charged episode we have ever done, and I'm into it. But I will say I'm interested. And this is coming from a guy who purposefully has been making it his agenda lately to try to broaden his horizons. But yeah, I like everything you guys are saying. So
You guys are all married and have kids. Okay, I'm the single guy. All right. Things are getting pent up, and I just had to put it into
wall
words,
of
all
meat,
right?
wall of meat,
Wall
or
of
flesh,
meat.
wall of flesh. Damn it, I messed it up.
Wall of flesh.
Let's edit that out so I can just do wall of flesh.
If the eye of Cthulhu is staring at you when you're beaten off
Oh my
the wall
god.
of flesh, is that wrong?
Yeah. Rule 34.
Skeletron Prime, am I right?
So this has been Press B to cancel.
Yes, it
Everybody,
has.
The B stands
Thank you
for
for
wall
listening.
of flesh.
flesh is butt. Okay. But yeah, I think Werewolf and I can probably go on about this game for hours and hours because both of us are kind of enamored by how broad of a experience this is. So
Every day, what I've probably been playing almost every day since, at least a little bit, since the update came out 3 weeks ago. And I swear every day I've learned something like, what? That's a thing now?
yeah,
So I have like 3 hearts and like pennies to my name. If I had to go back into the game now, can I even exist in the same plane of existence as your guys? Or have you guys have like 50 million hearts by now and beaten all the bosses?
In that case, we would probably... No, you're capped at... So there's a soft cap. There's a pre-hard mode cap, which is 500 or 400 health. And then it's not even pre-hard mode. You can start getting the fruit that lets you up it to 500. Not so versed in that, but the hard cap of health is 500 unless you have gear that also ups your health. And I think that's a thing. I'm not entirely sure.
I just have trouble wrapping my head around how much game there has to be, like how much of the world is in that one map, because it does not feel like a big map to let you get that high up.
it doesn't until you start digging.
Also, like I said, that's the thing. Like, when you beat the wall of flesh, there, I said it for you,
My holes are filled.
it spawns an entirely new type of ore in the jungle. And then you go and destroy some altars with something you got from the wall of flesh, and that'll spawn a new tier of ore. And then you smack another one, it'll spawn the second tier of ore. You smack the third one, it'll spawn the third tier of ore. And then it'll cycle through those 3 tiers with each one you destroy.
It basically is rewarding you for banging stuff.
Yeah.
So try it. You can't get away with a lot of this in real life, so at least do it here.
You destroy more bosses, more ore will spawn. So it keeps making you go back and explore again and again.
But anyways, I think we're kind of beating a dead horse here. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't bang many walls. I am married.
again, make fun of the single guy. But you're all listening to me very intently right now. So
There
thank
is
you.
something to be said about how wonderful it is to listen to anybody who's passionate or excited about a game. And I think so long as we keep having discussions about games that we are into, whether it's all of us or just one of us, we will always have something interesting to provide. And so you say that about like, we're beating a dead horse. I don't feel like that dead horse has been beaten at all. Like I said, I love listening to
It's
you
been
guys.
gently caressed.
Right. In fact, the horse might still be alive. So, no, I appreciate your guys' zest for the game. And, yeah, you know, like I said, I am intrigued by it, and I will be finding it and downloading it so we can all play together. But even if I wasn't, my hats would still be tipped to you guys for making a game that I don't care about sound interesting.
Yeah, anytime you can take a game, you just know it's good when the fans of it have their own language, where you understand as an outsider nothing of what's happening in the game. From smacking walls to Skeletron to plantation thing, I don't understand any of it. Like when I played for a little bit on my own, I got attacked by a garden gnome. I got a wand that turns wood into trees or some crap. I don't understand any of it, but it's like a language around that game. It's like Counter-Strike and Terraria. You know they're good games.
I'm gonna play Starbound.
I think Starbound is a lot easier to pick up on. But
But
anyways.
anyways.
let's
But
wrap it up.
Anyways.
All right. Well, let's start with Pulse. Where can you be found?
pressbtcancel.com/Pulse109 at twitch.tv/Instagram. No. You can find me sometimes. I've been slacking a lot lately, but I've been known to stream on twitch.tv/Pulse109. That's PALSH 109.
And Jake, where can we find you?
And yeah, my name is Sick Jake. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, and also on Instagram. Well, not right now, but when you listen to this episode, I'll have an Instagram because I need to feel young again, so I have to sign up.
And GP, where can we find you?
Well, by the time this airs, you will be able to find me on twitch.tv/TheRetroTherapy, where you can find me as
Wait,
the Retro
well, hold
Therapy.
on. What happened to the therapy couch?
It doesn't feel the same. I changed it about 2 months ago, and I gotta be honest, I miss the Retro Therapy. There's maybe it's because I've been the Retro Therapy for 2 years. Here in a couple days, we'll be celebrating 2 years. Or maybe it's something else, but I miss saying the Retro Therapy. So I'm going back to the Retro Therapy, yeah. We'll still be doing non-retro stuff. So, like, I'm going to be doing the Batman Arkham games and things like that here soon. But, damn it all if I just don't miss the old branding.
Also, I just tried to look up Sick Jake on Instagram, and the first thing that came up is called Smutsicle. So, if that's you, well played.
Smut
That's my OnlyFans account.
That's the only fan.
Got network.
So there's a free shout out for Smutsicle on Instagram.
There you go.
Smutsicle, make sure you like and subscribe.
No, what if we do that? What if we go and look up what it is after this, and it's something horrifying that none of us want to support?
Then we'll bleep it out.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll just fill the void with Save the Manatees.
The final manatees. But yeah, so yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/TheRetroTherapy, or Instagram, or Twitter, or YouTube as The Retro Therapy.
Alrighty. And I am Werewolf. I have been taking a stream hiatus. I will be coming back sometime later this year. No hard dates yet. Otherwise, you can just find me on Twitter.
You said hard.
Which means he's unlocking hard or achieving hard was the word.
Gotta achieve hard mode with that wall of flesh.
Yeah, buddy.
Very aroused.
Well, I'm moist.
Thank you all for listening.
Special thanks for music go to Arthur the Ancient, found on SoundCloud, or The Last Ancient on YouTube. For more episodes, please visit our website, pressbtcancel.com. As well, feel free to like or subscribe at Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you like to listen to your favorite shows. As always, thank you. This has been
Press B to cancel.
Hostage.